I've been using the last small Samsung phone, which is the Galaxy S10E, for the last 2 weeks, and in this video I'm going to share my experience with it and answer the question whether you can go ahead and buy this phone in 2024. While the phone has a lot of positives, there are two major negative things about this phone that I think will make it hard to recommend in 2024. But after watching this video, you are going to get an idea, and if those negatives are not really a problem for you, then you can go ahead and buy this phone. If this is your first time here, then I'm Audu, and I've decided to buy old Samsung flagship phones to test them in 2024 and see if you can really buy them. I know there are a lot of them that you can still buy, but there are some that you really need to know how they perform in 2024 before you go ahead and put your money into it. The Samsung Galaxy S10E is the first phone of that series, and after this I'm getting the S10 and S10 Plus, testing them all the way up to like the S23 Ultra. So if that is something, or you want to see those type of videos, then you should subscribe to the channel and stay tuned as we bring you those videos. The Samsung Galaxy S10E is a small phone, and using it with one hand is a joy. Over the last few years, I have been used to using phones with massive screen up to like 6.7 inches, but having a phone that is this size, like pocketable size, very small, has been kind of difficult to use. And the reason is simple: it's kind of difficult to reach the bottom of the phone most of the time when you are using it with like one hand. But it's a positive thing. I don't really see it as a problem. It's just because I've been used to phones, large phones. That's why I'm finding it a bit difficult to kind of adjust to a phone that is sized at 5.8 inches. The display size is 5.8 inches, like I stated earlier, and we don't normally see these sizes on phones nowadays. While there are a lot of people that love small phones, smartphone brands barely manufacture this type of phones. It comes with a dynamic AMOLED display with a 1080p resolution and the standard 60Hz refresh rate. The display is really bright even under direct sunlight, and by 2024 standards, this display can still be in contention when we just forget about the refresh rate. It is sharp, responsive to touch, and even though it doesn't have a high refresh rate, I find it really smooth toggling through the display. Watching content on the display is very okay. Same thing applies to playing games. The only problem I have, and I don't think it will be a problem to anyone, is the camera cutout by the right side of the phone. I find it to be a bit big because smartphone manufacturers have kind of shrunken the size of punch holes on phones, and I can't really talk much. This is an old phone, and I think this is one of the earliest phones to come with a punch hole cutout. The bezels around the display are not symmetrical, and you can notice the chin at the bottom being like the largest part of the bezel. But does it affect the overall usability of the display? It doesn't really affect it. The screen is very fine, very bright and colorful because it's AMOLED. The display is also protected by the Gorilla Glass 5. As we all know, Samsung makes some of the best displays. Even though this one is like 5 years old, the display is still like very good by 2024 standards. The back of the phone also has Gorilla Glass, and to me, the design of the Samsung Galaxy S10E is one of the best that I've ever seen on a phone. It feels really compact to hold in the hand, and the slight curve around the sides makes it sit on your hand like comfortably and firmly. If you're holding a bigger phone, it normally sits on your pinky finger, making you feel like the weight of the phone on that finger. But the S10E just sits on your palm. It doesn't sit on your pinky, making the experience a little bit different because most of the phones that I own are quite big, and if I hold them on my right hand, they mostly rest on my pinky and I feel the weight. There are two cameras at the back of the phone housed in a visor-like design, and I think the pixels are heavily influenced by the design of the Samsung Galaxy S10 series. The frame of the phone is aluminium, and you get the fingerprint scanner by the top right side of the phone. Due to the size of the Samsung Galaxy S10e, it will be uncomfortable to reach the fingerprint scanner if it was placed on the middle. The scanner is fast and responsive, and we have the volume rockers by the left side, and just below them you're going to find the Bixby button. The phone has stereo speakers, and they are loud, especially when you consider the size. The phone supports dual SIM cards, but you need to sacrifice the memory card slot if you want to use the second SIM card. There is also a variant of this phone that supports dual SIM card without a memory card slot, and you can find that available, but you need to really check well if you want to buy that model. You also get the convenience of a headphone port, which I really find useful. Above all, the phone is well built and it's compact, small. The design is quite refreshing. I have the flamingo pink here, and the color is really popping. You also get an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, but I will not advise anyone that get this phone in 2024 to dip it in water because you can hardly, in fact, I don't think you can buy a brand new Samsung Galaxy S10E by today. Most of the ones that are out there are refurbished or used ones, and the water resistance rating might have kind of worn out by now. My unit here is powered by the Snapdragon 855, which is a flagship chipset, and performance is very okay. Like, it's a very fast phone. There are other models out there that use the Exynos 9820, but they are not as fast as what you get with the Snapdragon 855, because the Exynos processor is an 8nm processor, while the Snapdragon 855 is a 7nm processor. You get 6 or 8 gigs RAM and 128 or 256 gigs of storage space on the phone. Performance is very okay, but there's a problem that will make it hard for me to recommend this phone. It can run demanding games and it can handle like basically any task you throw at it with ease, but where you run into an issue is the fact that this phone overheats when you are trying to really juice it out, when you are trying to like use it constantly, like reply to messages, scroll to social media, playing games. It gets uncomfortably hot, and you can even iron your clothes with it when it gets hot. The overheating has made the phone unusable for me most of the time because I didn't apply a case on it, and I'm sure if you apply a case, the overheating might not really get to you, but if it gets hot, it's definitely going to just be a different experience. It's going to be unbearable. Whether you connect it to a Wi-Fi network or maybe you are using internet directly on the phone, it just gets hot. Like, I thought using a Wi-Fi is going to reduce the level of overheating, but it didn't really play any role. Performance is solid, but overheating is an issue. The only way this phone is not going to overheat is when you just keep it on its own, and maybe you are just using it to receive calls, which I personally can't do. I'm someone who spends a lot of time on my phone replying to mails and texting people, so I can't really see myself using a phone that I'll just keep for like maybe picking up calls. By 2024 standards, if you're someone who is always on their phone, then I don't recommend you get this phone. It will overheat and you'll get tired of it. When Samsung released this phone in 2019, it came out of the box with Android 9, and it's got like some upgrades all the way up to like Android 12 and One UI 4.1. Now it is still the typical Samsung experience. The icons, the animation, everything is smooth on the phone. You have access to swipe gestures, which is what I've been using since I got the phone, and you can also do a lot of customizations in the settings of this phone. You also get wallpaper theming, which is something that you can't even find on a lot of other budget Android phones within its price category. Now, the only quirk you're going to have with the software is the fact that the security patches that Samsung send might also be coming to an end for this phone, which means the phone is going to be vulnerable to like some kind of attacks, because there might be some bugs that will come in future on this phone, and since the security patches are no longer coming, it can easily expose your information and data, which is a problem. There are two cameras at the back of the phone. We have a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera and a 12 megapixel main camera. The cameras are quite impressive for 2024 standards, and they can snap better pictures than a lot of budget or mid-range phones that were released in 2024. I've taken a lot of pictures since I got this phone, and I picked it up for less than $200, which makes the camera make a lot of sense because I paid not so much for this phone and I'm still able to get like good pictures with the main camera. The images are not the sharpest, but colors are still very much in good condition. Like, the colors pop and it's just nice overall. The ultra wide camera is also good. You get a lot of details in the shots, but there are times when you're going to get noise at the edges of the pictures. HDR is also quite decent in most of the pictures. There are a lot of phones that were released in 2024 that cost more than the Samsung Galaxy S10E, and they still can't record 4K videos, but this phone right here can record 4K videos at 60 frames per second. Up front, we have a 10 megapixel selfie camera, and you cannot depend on this selfie camera to get good images because there's this whitish tone that it adds to like all the selfie cameras I take, no matter where. It even gets worse when you snap selfies in environment with low lights. Here are more pictures from the front and back cameras of the phone. I'd like to know what you think about the camera quality in the comment section. The battery life is the second major factor that affects this phone by 2024 standards. You get a 3100 mAh battery on the phone, and it supports 15 watts charging. Now, I charge this phone at least 3 times a day if I want to use it from morning till bedtime. It barely lasts more than 3 hours under demanding use, which is really a problem. Like, you can't get more than 3 hours of battery life on this phone. The only thing this one wants you to do is just to keep it and continue watching it. If you have a call, just pick, or the battery is just bad. If you want to use it as a backup phone for just calls, then you'll be very fine with the battery life. It's going to even last you an entire day. But the moment you put on the internet and start scrolling through social media, watching video, playing games, then you're going to be stressed. Even though the battery is 3000 milliamps, charging from 0 to 100 takes like 2 hours, which is slow by 2024 standards, because that's the standard for this video. 2024, we are judging it in 2024. Do you have any questions about the phone? Let's chat in the comment section. The phone is going to be a good backup option, like as a second phone in 2024, but I don't think there's anyone out there that is going to enjoy using this phone as his main daily driver. The design and display of this phone are top notch, like they are even better than some of the phones available in the market brand new right now. The camera is quite okay, and I think those are just the three aspects of this phone that are quite good. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe if you made it to this end of this video, and I would like you to drop a love emoji showing on display right now if you made it to this end, so that I'm going to know who watched this video from the beginning to the end. See you in the next video where I get the Samsung Galaxy S10 and S10 Plus and talk about them. I'll see you in that video.